Hello everybody.
Hello.
My name is Chibuka Andrew. I'm Ugandan. I'm grateful we are all here, and we pray the other ones on the way are also arriving soon. It is always a pleasure to meet you here. The fun is always on Saturday. That's what I say, because normally that's when you get to meet people you have not met almost throughout the week. I'll start by giving a preamble why I'm here, not Abe, not Coach. So behind the walls, there's been talk of how do we build capacity of our members, apart from helping them with their sign-on process. How do we build their capacity beyond their claims? So now they are giving opportunity. I'm lucky, I'm benchmarking. So if I'm a phone, I don't know if you remember those phones where you put your finger and then dial 1 and then put a finger and dial 2. I don't know. Those were the pioneer phones. So possibly I'm going to be the pioneer phone. You guys can become the smartphones. So the issue is, if a member can build capacity to a point of educating other fellow members, both out of the system and in the system, the organization grows. How? Instead of hiring a professional to come here and charge the group or the organization money, the members will come and do it possibly at a lower rate or sometimes at free rate, pro bono. So in one way, they are giving you back, building your capacity. In another way, they're also mentoring you to give back to the organization. So that is the preamble of why I'm here. I'm trying to build my capacity and also in future to look forward to giving back to the organization in terms of helping the other people who are coming behind me. So today I want to speak about, not really to speak about, I want to engage you about something called, sorry about my handwriting, personal finance. And possibly everybody is asking, okay, personal finance, who are you? Like a guan, achogirako. And possibly you're asking, why of all things? Why do we start with personal finance? So I'll start by one. Who am I? The one presenting personal finance. I am, without bothering you with my qualification, I am Andrew Chibuka, you already know, but training, I went through the finance and accounting school. So by training, I have what it takes to talk to you about this subject. Yeah? Practice. I have practiced finance and accounting for over 10 years in good organizations. I don't have to show you my CV. Just take it on paper. I've practiced. Trust my word. And therefore, by practicing, I have got the experience. So those three will make me very competent to talk to you about the subject. So why am I talking about personal finance? And particularly, why am I going to talk about savings? Can anybody possibly think about what I might be talking about if I say personal finance? Is there anybody who has an idea where we could be heading, apart from savings? Come on, I saw somebody from my school, others near my school. Yeah?
Managing
yes.
of finance.
Well, yes, managing of finance. Anybody else? Yes?
Well, I should say that I was a banker for many years and mainly specializing in dealing with governments. But I have thought quite a lot about personal finance as well on the basis of that. And I would say that debt is a very important
Good.
aspect of this.
Good. So just do that. I have 30 minutes, so I'll just pull up the speed. So when I'm talking about personal finance, I'm talking about savings. I'm talking about your assets. People tend to think finance is only money. I'm talking about your debts or loans. I'm talking about your investments. So I'm talking about your individual, not if you have a company, I'm not talking about your company finance, your individual finance. Okay? So I'm talking, if you're a person, how do you manage your savings? How do you accumulate and manage your assets and grow them? How do you manage your loans? You know, this is a matter of credibility, and it makes a component of almost all of those. And then how do you invest? Okay? On another day, if I'm given another time, I will talk about these others, maybe one by one. Today I'm talking about savings. And everybody might be asking, why savings? I have chosen savings for 2 reasons. Maybe before I flip over. If you want to buy an asset, what will the bank tell you? Or what will come to your mind? If you want to buy anything.
You need to save money.
Do I have the money?
Exactly. Money is available in 2 things. Yeah? In 2 ways. Either you have the savings or you get a debt, a loan. Yeah? But to get a loan, they will say pay deposit or down payment. Yeah? That means bring part of your savings. Okay? So part of what makes that is that component there. When you go to get a loan, they will say, what security do you have? Yeah? End up there. When you're going to invest, people will say, okay, you're investing, what money are you bringing in? Okay? So I'm starting with savings for the purpose that it is a component of all the other things in personal finance. That's why I'm starting with savings. Number 2, savings. When you go to the NHS app, when I'm idle, I just read up on things. So they are saying 1 out of 4 people are struggling with mental health. Here in UK, 1 out of 4 adults are struggling with mental health. And they said most of these people are in the lower socio-economic grouping. I presuppose, if not 100%, 99% we belong here. All of us here. Yeah? We are almost there. Yeah? And it says that out of those 4 people, 1 out of those 4 people are either unemployed, which I presuppose is a big number here, yeah, or underemployed, which, it covers our scope. So literally I said, okay, why don't I start there? Yeah? People could be thinking, saving is money. I don't have money, what should I save? It doesn't bother me. People have just started working, possibly they're not earning enough. They're saying, don't tell me about savings. I've just started earning. I need to get the dust off myself. Yeah? So I said, let me start with savings. Let's start from there and help our people with mental health, but also for those who haven't started working, information is power. Just have the information. Maybe it will come to you at some point. So, and that takes me to another statistic. Has anybody heard about this rule? Has anybody heard about that rule? Finance accounting, please. Has anybody? Can you guys see it? It is very common. People who listen to the news, people who watch BBC, CNN, and stuff, finance things or business news, this is very common. Has anybody heard about it? No? Don't worry. Sibo. So,
What is it?
that's where I'm going. Okay. So, the world generically sees wealth, the world wealth, yeah, and the population like this. When you go to a finance person, the world all over, when you go to the banks, when you go to any monetary institution, they will see the world like this. So that's why they say 5% of the wealth in the world, 5% is generational wealth. I'll explain that in a minute. Wealth. It means of all the wealth we have in the world, 5% is owned by generational wealth. Generational wealth is your father works hard, saves money, pays off the mortgage, pays off all the debts, and leaves $5 million or £5 million in the account. So when he dies, he passes it on to you. So you become rich. That is 5%. They are rich because their forefathers, I don't know if they call them, they worked hard and saved the money. The other 15% of the world wealth is the middle class. Middle class. Of all the wealth in the world, 15% is the middle class. And what does the middle class mean? It means your grandparents or your parents worked hard, paid off a loan, paid off the house. They lived a good life. And they died. They didn't leave you anything. They didn't leave you debts, but they didn't live off you. They don't want your money. They have made their money. They can sustain themselves until when they die. And then you take care of yourself. 80%, and this is where I want to concentrate. 80% is for the poor population. It means this 80%, your parents, my grandparents did not work hard. When they retire, they look up to me. 80%. They look up to their children, grandchildren, to look after them when they retire. 80% in the world, and this is the world. If you look at Africa, I think we can go 90. I mean, look at all of us here. It means 80% of us here, our parents and grandparents are looking forward to us to do something for them to live. Now, I'm talking Africa, could be even more than 90. So the reason why I want to talk about this one here is one, how do we break this circle? We keep saying in Africa we don't have the opportunities. If you come here and you are granted asylum and you have the opportunity, how do you break this circle? How do we move from here into the 5? That's a big question, because if 8 of us can manage to do this, we've beaten Abe at his game. Yeah? We can come back and show off. Okay, so I want to concentrate there on the 80%. So there's a behavior in each of this class. Why people belong here, why people belong there, and why people belong there. So I don't know if I was given 30 minutes, I've not been tracking. So how do the 80% behave? Huh? Why don't they be in the 5%? So the behavior in the 80% is these people work so much, they earn money. When they earn money, they go crazy. They spend on anything they want. We go to the club, we drink. We buy an expensive car. We go to brands, buy good stuff, first class. My mother has a friend, has a funeral. I'm left with 1,000, I can give it to them. They spend on all excuses. So by the time they move from this income to the next income, they have negative. They paid me salary. On the 10th, I don't have any money. So I'm looking forward to next month when the salary comes. You're in that bracket, you're not going to leave. You're sure going to be there. So what is the difference? Does anybody know what the other two classes do? The 5 and the 15. Can anybody imagine what they do?
Saves.
They?
Mostly it depends on the needs, not the wants.
Well, we will go there. I will come. Not the needs and wants, but there's a pattern. If they're going to spend, when you talk about spending in finance, I know people tend to mean spending and investing as one word, spending. But in finance, spending and investing, they're completely two different things. Yeah? So I know it could be meaning they spend and invest on a particular way. I think that's what you mean. Okay. That's one. Yes.
They keep building on their existing wealth.
Extremely good. I'll tell you what they call it in a minute. That one is called working for assets, not the money. One of the communities I know that is very good at this is the Asians. The Asians, when they open a normal shop, and this is what I've experienced, they will eat one meal, and the rest of the day will drink. I'm sorry if you come from an Asian, but it's not for the bad. I'm just giving what I've seen. It is actual thing I've seen. They will have one meal. Not because they don't have money, but because they have said, this is my budget for feeding. The rest of the money is for something else. They will never touch it. Their kids will cry. They will want things, but they will say, no, the money for this is finished. I think they have beaten us at that culture, the culture of discipline and endurance. The Asians have done very well. So it is one point I'm going to come to, but I wanted to first exhaust this one because he brought it up first. So the difference between the rich, the middle class, and the poor is this. Whereas we wake up every morning to go and work for money. Working for money means you do a job, get the money, and you do that. And then you wait for the next paycheck on the 10th. Yeah? You're already waiting for the money to come at the end of the month. By the time you get there, you're in negative. Then you get the money. Again, you spend it. You go back into negative. You work for the job. You work for the money. Because you're not thinking any other thing. When do I buy myself this? When do I start buying shares there? You're thinking, when do I get the next money? To spend it. Yeah? So you're always going to be there. So what the rich do, they work for assets. Like he said, here it is easier. Good luck. When they expect money, they start thinking, what house am I buying? What land am I buying? Where do I invest in shares? They don't think money. They think assets. I don't know if you get me. Yeah? And what does that mean? These assets you buy today, tomorrow they are a source of income. Yeah? So the money thinking, let me buy a house. You're thinking, let me spend my money traveling. 1 year down the road, he's bought the house, renovated it. Maybe $500,000, maybe £500,000. 1 year down the road, it's 1 million. Possibly he has put some little money on top. You have spent this money, you are still there, he's added another $500,000, £1 million. They are thinking, and the people in the lower class is completely different. When they think of I'm going to earn, they think, which asset am I buying? Not, I'm waiting for money to pay off this person because they are badly off or to spend it there or there. They first think this, irrespective of what conditions they are going through. So that is one way they invest their money. 2, now I'll come to what we've been talking about, the discipline. If you listen to most of these rich people, I was having a conversation with Abby at the retreat. One of the richest guys has a discipline not to have a house, does not own a house. He's staying in apartments. He's the richest in the world. In his mind, he's convinced, I don't need a house. He has the money, but the discipline he has in the mind will not allow him to buy the house. He's disciplined himself so much and convinced himself that even when I have the money, my biggest need is not the house. I have to put the money somewhere. Some of us don't have that discipline at all. Today you are thinking, when I get the money, I'll buy some land. Let the money come. Let the money come. You'll start getting all sorts of excuses. Last month, I didn't go for a party. I need to take myself out. Yeah? My auntie called me last month. I think I wanted to know what she wanted, but I think she wanted money. Let me call her up and see if it is true it is money. So even inviting problems for yourself to spend. So you call your auntie, did you ask me about money last month? Oh, sorry, I didn't have money, but now I've got it. Let me send you some money. Spend. No discipline. The rich live like this. They have baskets. Everything is in a basket. If they say food, they will say, I don't spend more than... In fact, you just test it out. Go and talk to a rich person. How much does your home cost you a month? How much you spend on fuel? Everything they have. And you wonder, you're a rich man, what are you doing thinking about fuel of your car? But he knows. He will tell you, this car, I don't want to drive that car too much. It takes a lot of money. I don't drive it that much, unless when it is very necessary. Everything is in a box, and everything is attached to a financial value. Value. Not saying I have to buy. Most of us say, I have to pay school fees. Do you know I have to buy food in the house? I have to shop for these kids. You don't put value. So when you go to the shop to shop, when you get your card, when you go back home to check, did I spend all that money on shopping? How did I do that? You've already spent it. You didn't have that control in your mind. Today I'm going to shop for my kids. I should not be more than 5,000. So you end up shopping 20,000. The money to invest there is all gone. You end up back there. So the reason why I'm emphasizing these things is, unless you do these things, especially for our friends who have come here and they have been granted and they are working, please emphasize this discipline. For us who have not been granted, please have the information. You might not be as disciplined as this. What I'm saying, you must have a level of discipline. Maybe to move you from here, at least, yeah? Live at least up to there. But the foundation and everything has to be disciplined. Nobody breaks through by chance. If you are not especially coming into the 5%, this is hard work. Real hard work. And it is not a miracle. You work for it and you earn it. So let's work on it. I think I'm about, so I'll just give the last point, and then possibly I'll take a few questions and post my reaction. The last thing, of course there are many more others, but I picked out what is applicable to us. These people don't have that. You know, they say you cannot achieve more than your dreams and discipline. I think something like that. That you cannot achieve more than your dreams and discipline. Some people don't dream. No. They say, me, I live day by day. Orange alunandaba. Kanzi sasani. That tomorrow is another day, let me spend it. Let me spend how I want today. They don't dream. These people here dream. Huh? These people here dream. And when you dream, you have the discipline. What do I want? I want 2 kids. Before they go into marriage, they know. For most of us Africans, we think, I don't care, God knows. Every child is a blessing from God. Don't tell me the number. A man is not supposed to say how many kids he's supposed to have. Yeah? No plan. So it just happens. If you end up at 20, If you end up at 30, no plan. These people don't do that. When this money comes, do you still remember your dream? Or then the money just washes the dream away and then you start thinking other things? Exactly. Normally, people in this bracket have a lot of excuses. A lot of excuses. My friends are going, I have to go with them. I can't put on cheap brands. Society has to see me as up there. I can't drive a car in below this year. You know, such excuses. You haven't reached there. But your mind is telling you, that's where I should be. Drive an expensive car, spend like this, don't invest. The 20 and 15% are very clear of life. So as we are here, and as I'm concluding my presentation, let's focus on the three things. Let's work for assets, not money. Means that start seeing things in terms of investing, not in terms of spending. When you start things like that, be disciplined. Put everything in their own baskets. Start seeing them in terms of money, value money, not I have to shop, I have to buy this. Put money onto it. Do you know what that will help you? You will see if you can fit in or you can't. Some people, that's why they end up in negatives. They just list the items, go spend on them, and they end up there. Because they don't have a picture, full picture. They do it half-half. But I plan every month. How come I still end up in negatives? I think it's not possible. You say, what did you plan? I planned to pay school fees. I planned to shop. I planned to go on a trip. So how much was that? I don't remember. You see, you've planned but half-half. And lastly, when you plan and have the discipline, keep it. Success is not a one-day thing. It's not an event. Every rich person will tell you, I went through struggle. Struggle. My family didn't have this at one point. They said I was this, I was mean, I don't give this. You know, especially in Africa, I'm talking more because that's what I understand. In Africa, if you try to be as radical and strict to this, most of the people are going to fall off. But maybe that's what you need to save the generation that's coming ahead of you. Yeah? Let's be mean, but let's not stick to the principles. So with that, I want to say thank you. Unless you have any questions or comments, I can just do my closing remarks. Thank you, Abby. I took a bit of more time. I'm not a very good public speaker. I'm surprised I pulled this one off. Normally I do it, but to my department. So I was in Uganda, I was heading a department, a finance department, of one of the biggest companies that are selling sugar to Pepsi Cola. Things went bad, I got into these problems, and then I ended up here. But I'm always available. I've got experience in telecom. I've worked in both MTN and Airtel. People from Africa know that. I've worked with the distribution companies that are distributing all over East Africa and Central Africa. And I've worked for Knight Frank, which is a company here as well. It's a real estate company. I've worked as their chief accountant, both in Uganda and Rwanda. So a few topics have escaped me in the finance area. So in case of anything, I'm available. Right now I'm very free, I have time. We can always engage. So thank you very much. Hope it's been good.
I'd just like to thank Andrew for his very helpful and useful little presentation on wealth accumulation from an African perspective. And I'd just like to add 3 points. One is that anyone who studies the history of Africa realizes that the history of wealth accumulation in West Africa, in East Africa, in Central Africa, in Southwest Africa, and in Southeast Africa is very different. So, of course, Africa is a very diverse continent. It's also the continent that human beings have longest inhabited, so approximately 6 times longer than Europe, and probably around 10 times longer than the Americas. So we all have a lot to learn from Africa. And personally, I think that this is one of the first African centuries for reasons that I can talk about later. But I certainly think that the diverse cultures of Africa are going to have a very important effect on wealth accumulation in Europe, and that LGBT people will have a very important role in that. And it's partly to do with population dynamics. And the other thing I'd say is that many years ago, in 1996, I swore to help a little Asian boy whose dad was my friend. He was from an ethnicity, an ethnic group that had never accumulated capital. So not all Asians are rich. The Baluch, as anyone from Tanzania will know. So I said something quite cruel. I said, if you end up paying for wedding parties, then you're never going to accumulate any capital at all. He said, well, what shall I pay for? If Auntie wants a new dress, what should I pay? What should I pay for? I said to him, Article 3 of the Human Rights Act. You pay when someone will die if you don't pay. That's that cruel and that simple. And you require evidence, careful evidence. So over the years, among his community, he got the reputation for being rather mean. But I said that's exactly what you need. And it's kind of proven to work. So that's how I would address the question of your Muganda auntie, who wants something, or your Muganda uncle who wants to smoke and doesn't have any money for his smoke, or whatever. And the third thing I'd say is just to build a little bit on what Andrew said about assets. Basically, money is 1 week money, that's money you need at the end of this week. 1 month money, that's your rent. 1 year money, that's the money you have to declare to the tax authorities. 3 to 5 year money, money that you can leave for 3 to 5 years, that you hope will make about 10% per annum, if you're lucky. And then you have 10-year money and 20-year money. So that's money for which you hope for a much higher return if you can leave it where it is for 20 years. So money is time-led. And that's a very, very important concept in wealth accumulation. And the only other thing I draw your attention to is diversify the wealth that you keep. So put it into different countries. This country is the most troubled of all Western countries. It's going to be one of the poorest shortly, although it may well return. So if you do manage to put aside some money, think carefully about where you're going to put it.
I want to thank Andrew for this wonderful lecture. Where really caught my attention is when you said the word mean, and you said something. I think that will really help we from that African perspective to be able to once you're mean, you tend to be disciplined. Now, for us to get into that 15%, when you're mean and disciplined, you can be able to gather yourself that asset, and as well develop people behind you. If you can develop people behind you, you will be able to actually get to that 15%. But if you cannot develop people behind you, you will remain in 80%.
First and foremost, I would like to appreciate Brother Andrew for his wonderful lecture in regards to the topic of personal finance and how to manage it. I do strongly believe it's possible for someone to do it. The only way we have in mind that probably it's hard for one to get from one class to another, it's simply because people tend to have a certain kind of behavior or a character. So breaking a behavior, some people may tend to think it's really hard. But when you sit down, get a pen and paper, and probably get to think, I've been spending on this, and you totally try to cut all expenditures that you really see that they take you nowhere, trust me, we can do it.
My name is Abdul Soga. Actually, Brother Andrew, thank you very much for each and everything, whatever you've really said. Yeah, if we had maybe 1%, at least we on 5% of whatever you really said. I've learned a lot. And most of us, all of us who are here in this room, we all concentrate on wants, like not needs, okay? I may be moving, I may be like, okay, I may be working, and I'm getting maybe like 200 pounds a week, okay? I go, like, you know, those window shopping. I go in JD. Oh, there is this shoe, you know, there is this shoe. So remember, last week, I saved maybe like 100. So this week I've got what? Like 200 pounds. So this shoe costs 100. It costs almost like 200 something, like 70 pounds. You know how I'm going to go and go to the other savings of last week? I get the 70 pounds on that. Then I top up this 200 pounds to buy this shoe of 270 pounds. Actually, most of us do it, but at least for your lesson, we've learned a lot.